The UK is burning again. Since July 13, 2025, the streets from Epping to Manchester have exploded with anti-immigration protests, many spiraling into full-blown riots. Mobs chanting, "Stop the boats!" have gathered outside hotels housing asylum seekers, hurling bricks at police and terrorizing local communities. Shops have been looted, police vehicles torched, and families caught in the chaos. At least 14 officers are injured, more than 110 people arrested, and the nation is on edge. But this isn't only about immigration. Knife crime, with its steady rise and terrifying headlines, has fused with fears about migration to create a toxic narrative. Far-right groups like Britain First and Patriotic Alternative are pouring fuel on the fire. But the unrest points to something bigger. A government struggling to deliver, a public disillusioned with crime and borders, and social media amplifying every spark. This is the story of the riots, the politics, and why knife crime has become Britain's defining crisis in 2025. Labour's promise versus reality. When Keir Starmer swept into Downing Street on July 4, 2024, it was with a mandate not seen in decades. Labour took 411 seats, a 174-seat majority, after 14 years of Conservative chaos. Voters were exhausted by Brexit deadlock, Boris Johnson's scandals, Liz Truss's economic disaster, and Rishi Sunak's drift. Starmer's pitch was simple: stability, competence, and 5 big missions. Grow the economy, make Britain a clean energy superpower, rescue the NHS, tackle crime, and expand opportunity. One of his earliest moves was scrapping the conservative Rwanda deportation scheme, promising a more humane and effective immigration policy. On crime, especially knife violence, Labour pledged tough new laws, expanded stop and search, and youth programs to cut gang recruitment. It was a hopeful moment, but fast forward to 2025, and reality is biting. Labour inherited a £22 billion deficit, and while inflation has dropped to 2%, wages are stagnant. The NHS waiting list has swollen to 7.6 million. Housing shortages are intensifying. Net migration hit 728,000 in 2024, still painfully high for a public desperate for control. And despite banning zombie knives and promising safer streets, knife crime remains stubbornly high. Over 50,000 incidents in 2024, rising another 5% in key cities this year. Labour's internal unity is cracking. Deputy PM Angela Rayner resigned in September 2025, citing irreconcilable differences and weighed down by personal allegations. Foreign Secretary David Lammy slid into the deputy role, but the reshuffle did little to calm Labour's ranks. Backbenchers like Emily Thornberry now warn openly, "We're losing our way." Starmer's approval rating has plummeted to 28%. Voters feel Labour's era of change has stalled before it began. The spark, Epping, Essex. The crisis broke on July 13, 2025, in Epping, a quiet Essex town northeast of London. An Ethiopian asylum seeker, only 8 days into his stay in Britain, was arrested for 3 sexual assaults. Local outrage ignited quickly. The suspect had been housed in a taxpayer-funded hotel, and to many, it was proof of a system spiraling out of control. Protesters descended on the Bell Hotel, chanting, "Send them home!" and "Save our kids!" What began as anger escalated into violence. 8 police officers were injured, bricks shattered windows, and riot police were deployed. Within days, the unrest spread. Liverpool, Manchester, Newcastle, even pockets of London from Canary Wharf to Islington. Businesses were trashed, migrant hotels attacked, and clashes with police left more officers bloodied. By mid-August, more than 100 arrests had been made. The scale echoed 2024's Southport riots, where a false rumor about a migrant knife attacker led to 1,800 arrests. Once again, a single crime became the spark for nationwide fury. Immigration. The flashpoint. Immigration has become Britain's political landmine. Net migration may have dipped from 906,000 in 2023 to 728,000 in 2024. But public frustration hasn't eased. Small boat crossings continue at pace. 1,098 arrivals in January 2025 alone. Labour promised to smash the smuggling gangs, speed up asylum decisions, and return rejected claimants. But for many, the boats keep symbolizing failure. Far-right groups exploit every case, painting migrants as criminals overwhelming a broken system. The Epping suspect, while a single individual, became a rallying cry. Proof that Labour's softer stance was endangering British communities. Starmer's response was uncompromising. He deployed 6,000 riot police across affected towns and pushed courts to fast-track cases. A 25-year-old rioter in Hull received 2 years for attacking an officer. A 40-year-old in Liverpool got 3 years for torching a migrant hotel. "This is not protest, it's thuggery," Starmer declared. His words resonated with some, but critics warned the crackdown risked inflaming tensions. For many voters, Starmer's balancing act, humane immigration policy but strict policing, is wobbling. Polls show 60% of Britons believe immigration is too high. Labour is bleeding support in red wall constituencies, the working-class heartlands that returned to Labour in 2024. Knife crime, Britain's parallel crisis. Knife crime is the second pillar of the public's rage. In 2024, England and Wales recorded over 50,000 knife offences. London alone saw 14,000, with teenage victims becoming grim headlines. 15-year-old Eliane Andam was stabbed in Croydon. 16-year-old Harry Pittman was killed in Primrose Hill. Birmingham, Manchester, and other cities tell similar stories. Knife crime terrifies the public, and far-right activists tie it, falsely, to immigration. Laws banning zombie knives and machetes have been strengthened. Stop and search has risen 20%. Youth hubs are being funded to keep kids out of gangs. Opposition on the offensive. The riots and knife crime have opened the door for opposition parties. Nigel Farage's Reform UK is surging, with a hardline message: zero net migration, deport illegals, take back Britain. He's tapping into raw frustration. Reform's membership hit 100,000 in 2025, and in some regions, they're polling neck and neck with the Conservatives. Farage is now openly eyeing a 2029 electoral upset. The Conservatives, under new leader Kemi Badenoch, are also sharpening their attacks. A Brexiteer with sharp elbows, Badenoch accuses Labour of betraying British values and demands Rwanda-style deportations return. Social media and the far-right's playbook. The unrest is not spontaneous. Far-right groups like Britain First, Homeland Party, and Patriotic Alternative are orchestrating much of it. They coordinate on Telegram, spread lies on X, and target towns already anxious about immigration. False claims, like the Epping suspect being a serial rapist, go viral within hours, even after being debunked. Foreign actors are adding fuel. A 2025 RUSI report warned that Russian bot networks amplify anti-immigrant and anti-government posts to destabilize the UK. Communities fight back. Amid the violence, there are signs of resistance. Counter-protests have drawn thousands in London, Birmingham, and Bristol. In Walthamstow, locals outnumbered rioters 10-1, protecting migrant centres from attack. Ordinary people are standing up. A Manchester father turned in his own son for rioting telling reporters, "This ain't us." A Liverpool mother handed her son to police, saying, "He's no patriot." But fear lingers. Hate crimes rose 20% after the riots, with Muslim families reporting harassment in parks and schools. The scars may last longer than the smashed shop fronts. What's next? Keir Starmer faces the greatest test of his premiership. He must convince the public he can cut migration, restore safety, and deliver an economy that works, all without alienating Labour's progressive base. His plan for change, childcare, free school meals, green jobs, remains popular on paper. But for people seeing knives on the streets and riots in their towns, long-term promises feel distant. They want results now. The Home Office is intensifying deportations of criminal migrants. Border patrols are being expanded. Knife amnesties and community policing are being trialed. But global platforms like X remain largely untouchable. The far right is not fading. Reform UK is thriving, and groups like Patriotic Alternative are getting slicker online. With the economy still flat, NHS waiting lists still long, and knives still claiming lives, Britain's anger will not vanish overnight. Yet, amid the chaos, there is resilience. Communities are pushing back. Counter-protests remind us that Britain is not monolithic. And even in towns scarred by riots, neighbours are rebuilding trust. The UK is at a crossroads. Starmer's vision, competence, unity, progress is colliding with riots, knife crime, and a surging far right. Politics isn't just about policies, it's about trust. Right now, that trust is broken. And unless Labour can restore it, the next spark may burn even brighter.